we are going to today talk to somebody who's incredibly fascinating and interesting and has taken what could be, as for so many people, an ordinary life and made it into something incredible and extraordinary by virtue of their passions, their desires to learn things, help people, be of service. And there is nothing better and no better way to start any day or any show, in fact, with somebody who is deeply inspiring. So please, let's welcome Robyn Chuter.
It's a great pleasure.
Oh, thank you. So, Robyn, today's conversation is, can we start today's conversation talking about, you have these incredible qualifications, and I want you to explain to me what one or two of them are, because I swear you're the most overqualified person I've ever had on the show. But what I'd like is at the moment, we are all struggling, to put this in a time perspective, we're all struggling with coronavirus, and everybody's absolutely terrified in that. In my house, my children keep trying to buy up all the masks in the town, and apparently there are none. And this just does, and my concept of how viruses work are about your immune system and boosting your immunity. And the second thing I want to talk about is how when you eat plant-based, you actually naturally get your immunity boosted, but also how it helps your gut. Because to me, all of this starts from the gut. And so the ways that you can see things aren't working is when people are bloated or when things aren't working. So the longest introduction in history, but please, can you talk to me about, okay, what is a lifestyle medicine practitioner, firstly? Because you're a nutritionist, you're a lifestyle medicine practitioner, you are a naturopath, you're a nutritionist, you do EFT. I mean, you do everything.
Yes, my husband always says that I'm the kind of person who could get interested in anything, and he's not quite right. I've never managed to get interested in sport, but aside from that, I am interested in just about everything.
Yeah.
And so lifestyle medicine practitioner, it's actually a new designation. The field of lifestyle medicine is a relatively new subspecialty of medicine. So lifestyle medicine essentially is using the components of lifestyle, so diet, sleep, exercise, social connection, stress management, and you might say reconnecting people with their purpose and meaning.
So you're a useful doctor.
Yes. Well, specifically, lifestyle medicine is about going upstream to find the cause of illness and correcting it at that upstream location. And so to link this back to what you were saying about coronavirus, I mean, yes, absolutely. Coronavirus, the coronavirus family is quite a large family of viruses. This is nothing new, by the way. Coronaviruses have been plaguing humans for a long time. And like any virus, they depend on the condition of the host. So a person with a strong immune system, a person who has slept well, takes regular exercise and eats a plant-based diet with a good diversity of nutrient-rich plant foods, harnessing all the benefits of what we call phytochemicals. So
yeah.
These compounds that plants make for their own metabolism, and humans, like any other animal that eats plants, long ago in our evolutionary history, we learned how to use these compounds that plants make to do plant things. We take those on board and we use those compounds to do human things, like fending off things like the coronavirus. So it's always really, really tragic when any human gets seriously ill from an infectious disease and when they die from it. What we're seeing with coronavirus is exactly what we see with any other upper respiratory tract virus. People who get really sick, and most sadly people who die from it, are those who are immune compromised. They're elderly.
So it's going to be the very young, the very old, and the very weak.
Exactly. People who are on immune suppressive therapy, for instance, for cancer or perhaps for autoimmune disease. And so that doesn't decrease the tragedy of their illness or
no, but we're talking about the mechanics of it now and how it affects. So you're saying that basically if you want to fight off a virus, one of the best ways to fight off a virus is actually to eat plant-based.
Yes, yes. And ensure you get enough sleep, get regular exercise. They're really
So
the key.
everything is basically a lifestyle concept, because the getting enough sleep, getting exercise, eating well is what we tell everybody anyway.
Exactly. And this is the fabulous thing about lifestyle medicine. It's not like there is one lifestyle that you can use to boost immunity and another set of lifestyle practices that help you prevent or reverse type 2 diabetes, and a different set to lower your blood pressure, and another set to reduce your risk of cancer. It's the same set of lifestyle practices. And newsflash, it's really just about living in a way that is conciliant with our genes.
I find it interesting that there are people that I meet in my everyday job that actually don't eat vegetables or fruit. And
who are these people? You know, in
unbelievable.
In Australia, less than 3% of our population meets the recommended targets for fruit and veg consumption, which is 2 serves of fruit a day and 5 serves of vegetables. Less than 3%.
Considering the way you guys get fruit and veg, that's criminal.
It is.
At least in this country, I have to fight to get it.
Oh, look, our food supply in Australia is amazing, and it's cheap and it's abundant. So I have no idea what the heck these people are eating. I mean, take away the
meat and potatoes.
And a lot of processed food. A lot.
Junk food.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about, I mean, because ultimately that virus part was very short, but in fact, the issue is that really boosting your immunity is almost entirely what you eat, and then you keep it boosted by also allowing your body to rest and recuperate. You do exercise, which keeps everything moving, but you can do the thing I can't get people to understand is I work out every day. It really doesn't matter if you work out if you eat crap on a daily basis, because
you can't add exercise to a bad diet.
Because fuel that your body needs. It's like going to, if you told the same person, here's your car and it actually takes diesel and put petrol in it, off you go, because, at least it'll drive. They'll be like, what are you, stupid?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, the petrol analogy is an interesting one, because although food certainly is fuel for the human body, it's far more than that. I mean, no one's ever pulled their car into a petrol station and stuck the Bowser in the tank, and while the fuel was flowing in, it also replaced their tires, reupholstered the car and cleaned the windscreen. But that's effectively what food does for us. It is not just fuel, it is quite literally the building materials of the human body, and food can either facilitate our detoxification processes or block it.
And this is the thing that also people don't understand, in my experience, which is that if you get the way out of your body, it is trying desperately to cure itself.
Oh, without a doubt. The human body is trying to
heal
up until the moment when we draw our last breath. There are reparative processes going on. Yes.
So, okay, let's talk about bloating, because that's one of the biggest issues, because most of my client base is kind of over 35 or 40. Yep. And the thing I hear again and again and again is, in fact, that people struggle with bloating, that they don't know how to manage, they just don't know how to eat in order not to be bloated.
Yes, absolutely. So the first thing to say is that bloating disproportionately affects females, and like so many of the other things that disproportionately, it's our hormones. Pure and simple, it's our hormones. So female hormones affect the motility of the gut. In other words, how quickly food and waste materials move through the gut. Also for women, particularly those who have had prior pregnancies, that often leads to basically like a dropping of the gut. And so if you look at a diagram of a gut, right? So just Google digestive tract and then go into Google Images, and you'll see this lovely neat picture of a gut with a colon, and it's all nice and neat. You've got your ascending colon on the right side.
Yeah, it kind of goes up and then across and then down. And
Okay, folks, that's a man, right? Women's guts, particularly after having a couple of pregnancies, that loop at that transverse colon is usually like about halfway down.
No, I never knew that.
Drops. Yeah.
Why does no one tell you that?
And so if you speak to any gastroenterologist who conducts colonoscopies on women, they will tell you they're a lot more trouble to do. Women, despite our smaller body size, actually have more colon than men. And
why?
Like that colon can end up in some rather unexpected places. So
is this because pregnancy pushes it all out the way?
Yeah, it's also the effect. So there's an exaggerated effect of female hormones during pregnancy, of course. I mean, progesterone, which is the hormone that's produced by the placenta in pregnancy, that has the effect of relaxing the tone of various organs throughout the body. And of course, it's necessary to prepare a woman's body for the amazing feat of passing a baby's head through.
I remember, let's not do that. This is quite early in the morning.
We're not going there, but you know what I'm talking about, right? So there's a lot.
I have 3 children, I really know.
Kind of loosened up and softened in order for this amazing feat to take place. And unfortunately, this enormous increase in progesterone does also affect the tone of the gut itself, which is why constipation is so common in pregnancy. And also...
So hang on. I would have thought that if it affected the tone, it would loosen it, so constipation would be less obvious in pregnancy.
It slows down. It slows down the passage of...
That's what you mean by tone, because peristalsis doesn't quite occur in the same way.
That's exactly right. Yes, yes. So you do have a slowing down of what we call intestinal transit time. Food just moves through the entire gut more slowly during pregnancy.
Okay, so you're a woman. You get pregnant. Your entire colon decides to move residence down by about a few inches.
Whoa.
Yeah. And then after moving residence by a few inches, what it's doing is then not working as well. So the muscle tone, literally the muscle tone, the squeezy part that actually pushes the food right the way through, doesn't work.
That's it.
Oh, okay, so we're screwed. So we're going to get bloated because we're just not moving the food fast enough through our systems.
Yeah, the other thing. So we need to distinguish between two terms which in lay usage are often used to mean the same thing. Mm-hmm. Bloating is a sensation of overfullness. This is how the terms are used medically. So bloating is a sensation of being overly full. Visible abdominal distension is the food baby. Okay, so these people who sort of wake up in the morning and their belly is relatively flat, and then by mid-afternoon they look 6.5.
I just have my hand up. Not even by mid-afternoon, but after every meal. My body used to do that a lot. It does it a lot less now because I'm aware of it. But yeah.
So this is visible abdominal distension. And again, women are more prone to this because our higher estrogen and lower testosterone levels than males cause a lower resting tone in the muscles of the abdominal wall. Okay.
Oh, whoa, wait. So that means that as you get older and you have less testosterone with menopause and everything, that's even worse.
Testosterone levels do drop after menopause, yes. Estrogen levels drop more precipitously, but without a doubt, there's a drop in testosterone, yeah. So what I'm saying is that even a man who's a bit of a couch potato and maybe has, something of a gut, still has more resting tone in the muscles of his abdominal wall than a woman, even if she's in good shape and not carrying a whole lot of fat.
That's super irritating, and it's racist, and it's discriminatory. I just want to point that out.
I know. And if there's
so
a God,
annoying.
Clearly not a female. Okay, just putting that out there. So that's what we're up against now. So the thing is that when we eat a plant-based diet, particularly a whole food plant-based diet, so a diet that draws most or even all of its energy from fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds, then this is inherently a diet that's high in fiber, but it's also high in a whole group of other carbohydrates called microbiota accessible carbohydrates. And there's a lovely little acronym for that, MAX. So there's a husband and wife research team, Justin and Erica Sonnenberg, and they coined the term MAC. And I think it's really cute because we can talk about a Big Mac diet. And if it's like...
Didn't they get a prize for something recently, these guys?
I wouldn't be surprised. I have not heard about this, but their book, which is called The Good Gut, is...
Yes. So okay, really fantastic. Let me not interrupt you because, I mean, sorry, already too late.
So, Big Mac diet. So MAC standing for microbiota accessible carbohydrates, or in other words, there's a lot of forms of carbohydrate in unprocessed plant foods that humans can't digest. We don't have the capacity to make the digestive enzymes to break down these forms of carbohydrates. We're pretty good at breaking down some simple sugars and some forms of starch, but we are lousy. We just don't have the capacity whatsoever to break down fiber. We've got limited capacity to break down resistant starch. And there's a whole collection of carbohydrates, including the types of sugars that are found in green leafy vegetables, complex sugars that are found in, for example, legumes, oligosaccharides. We don't break them down. So they go all the way through our stomach, through our small intestine, down into the colon, where our friendly gut bacteria proceed to carry out fermentation processes. Now, this is a good thing, right? The byproducts of those fermentation processes include this whole range of metabolites, butyrate, propionate, acetate, just super duper compounds.
Right.
All these fabulous things, which do great things for us. But fermentation also produces gas. Okay. So,
okay.
Yeah. So if you eat more plants, more whole, or
that's why they talk about vegans and farting and all that.
Exactly. And most people who've switched to a plant-based diet will tell you that for the first, month, maybe even couple of months, it's fairly stormy weather in their household.
Can you use digestive enzymes to help with that?
You can, but your gut microbiota will
work itself out.
Diet anyway. So most people notice this temporary increase in gas, and then over time it settles back down again. I mean, that is, we're always going to produce gas. It just is what it is, but they don't have quite the noticeable volume of gas after the gut microbiota becomes accustomed to it. There are some people though, and I see quite a lot of them in my practice, who have really very, very damaged guts. And the gut damage may be due to excessive use of antibiotics in the past. It's not uncommon for me to see this in people who've traveled to exotic locations and sampled some of the local bacteria. So in Australia, it's very popular. Bali is a popular holiday destination, and so the term for the bugs that you pick up in Bali, it's called Bali belly. Now, if you're in
There used to be a thing called Delhi belly.
Yeah.
From Delhi and...
In North America, you can go and get yourself some Montezuma's Revenge. And I've seen quite a number of people recently who've had some very interesting encounters with the local bacterial populations in South America. And let me tell you, they've got some gnarly bugs happening there. So this can cause people to develop a very disordered gut microbiota. What else? Proton pump inhibitors, drugs like Nexium and Somac and Pariet, that I don't know what it's like in the UK, but in Australia, these proton pump inhibitors are handed out by doctors as if they were jelly.
What do they do? What do they do?
They almost entirely suppress stomach acid production. So the hydrochloric acid that is made in our stomach.
Why do people do that?
Well, I mean, again, in Australia, we have this massive problem with overprescription of proton pump inhibitors. The list of appropriate medical indications for proton pump inhibitors is actually really short. Now, the vast majority of people that I've seen who've been put on a PPI, I'm going to call them that from now on because proton pump inhibitor is like too many syllables, man. So most of the people who I've seen who've been put on a PPI, number one, they didn't have any of the correct indications for a proton pump inhibitor. Number two, they were placed on them, or they've been on them for months to years at a stretch, whereas even if they're properly medically prescribed, in the majority of cases, they're only used, they should only be used for 6 to 8 weeks. So
and then stop.
Yeah. So one of the main functions of stomach acid, of hydrochloric acid produced in the stomach, is to kill off bacteria that land in the stomach because we drink them, we eat them,
we touch them, we swallow them, all kinds of stuff.
When we've got our mouths open, when we're talking. So it's, we're breathing in a bacterial soup. And if we
don't have anything that stops your hydrochloric acid in long term. Okay. Can we go back, Robyn, to the bit where it hits your gut, all this plant-based stuff, and it ferments there, right? Now, so far, I haven't heard why a plant-based diet is better for you than a non-plant-based diet in terms of your gut health.
Because the other byproducts of fermentation, except gas, are all fabulous. So bacteria carry out a fermentation process so that they can extract energy from these carbohydrates.
Right.
Okay? Now, that process of extracting energy generates what for them are waste products, things like short chain fatty acids, but for us,
we need those.
Critical.
Yeah.
So you might have heard of one of these. It's quite a heavily researched substance. It's called butyrate or butyric acid.
No.
And okay. Let me tell you about butyrate. I tell you, I could bang on for an hour and a half about butyrate, but I won't.
You're not allowed to, because we have to go back to bloating properly.
Okay. Butyrate improves insulin sensitivity. Okay. So if you are at risk of diabetes.
Oh, how clever.
Diabetes, or you have a family history of diabetes, you want more butyrate. It sensitizes you to insulin. Butyrate helps to heal the damaged gut lining of a person with what we call leaky gut. Butyrate decreases visceral hypersensitivity. Now, bookmark that. We'll come back to that when we talk about bloating. Butyrate even crosses the blood-brain barrier, and once inside the brain, it stimulates the release of a compound called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is described by neurologists as miracle grow for brain cells. It's like a fertilizer.
And how do you get butyrate? How can you add it to your diet?
Yeah. Eat mac, okay? So eat these microbiota accessible carbohydrates. See, you don't have to worry about making the stuff. You just eat the fiber, the resistant starch, the complex sugars found in plant foods.
Okay, run that into a normal person's food for me. What would that mean, those three things you just said? What would they mean in terms of food? Are we saying...
Beans and lentils, pulses, you call them in the UK. They're called elsewhere. Okay, so dried lentils, peas and beans, that's your fiber and resistant starch. Complex sugars, green leafy vegetables, there's one called sulfur-quinavose, amazing stuff. Resistant starch is also found in oats and in barley. Okay, so these are very, very specific foods for butyrate producing bacteria. And polyphenols, these are the pigments found in blueberries, in blackberries, raspberries, aduki beans, black rice, red quinoa. Okay,
so it's that color.
It's the color. These polyphenols actually promote the growth of a lot of beneficial bacteria, including those that make butyrate.
Amazing. So we were going to go back. We bookmarked something.
About
the gut.
Visceral hypersensitivity. Okay.
That one. I knew how to say that.
Yeah. All right. Visceral hypersensitivity. So this relates directly to the bloating, the sensation of bloating, and to visible abdominal distension. Okay, so what visceral hypersensitivity is it's like a miscommunication between the brain that runs the gut, the enteric nervous system, and this brain up here. Okay, so I don't know whether most people are aware, but we actually have two brains in our body. We have a gut brain and a brain, and they're together by this nerve called the vagus nerve, right?
Yes.
So brain talking to gut brain talking brain, talky all day long. The gut does most of the talking.
Yeah.
Okay. The 90% of the neural messages up and down that vagus nerve are gut talking to brain, specifically informing the brain about what's come down the pipe. You know, what did the human eat? So the gut is telling the brain what volume of food has come in and how much protein it has and how much fiber and how full up the gut is and what the bacterial situation is down there. Now, in a quote unquote normal person, haven't met too many of them, but in a person who doesn't have gut issues, they're basically almost completely unaware of what's going on in their gut. Like every now and again, they might
well, it's like a child. You eat and you move on, and you go to the loo when you need to. You're thirsty, and it's all balanced.
Unless they ate a 15-course meal, you know, stuff themselves at Christmas or something, like they might feel uncomfortable if they totally overfilled themselves. But most of the time, they're blissfully unaware of what's happening in their gut. Yeah. Now, people who are viscerally hypersensitive are super aware because of this brain to gut to brain miscommunication. So their brain is actually registering normal activity in the gut as being abnormal, as being uncomfortable or even painful. Okay. Yeah. So, I've just lost you there. Oh, you're back. Fabulous. So yeah, in visceral hypersensitivity then, any accumulation of gas in the gut is going to be perceived as uncomfortable, even painful, and it stimulates this kind of reflex response in the brain where the person's gut will actually pooch out. So this is where you see that visible abdominal distension.
So what do you do with it?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, butyrate, this magical stuff that's made by gut bacteria, actually calms down visceral hypersensitivity. So
you're saying that this is almost an emotional sensitivity. It's not actually a physical one. It's almost like a reactive sensitivity.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Right. Yes. It's not sort of psychosomatic.
No, I don't mean that at all. Yeah. I never think these things are psychosomatic.
Yeah, the person's nervous system is actually misinterpreting, if you like.
Yeah, it's worrying about it because it's like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. So the brain is misinterpreting it in the sense of taking this normal kind of input from the gut.
I love that. Okay. We've got very little time left. What do you do with that?
Yeah. Okay. So, if you eat a high fiber diet, I mean, on the one hand, that's increasing butyrate production. On the other hand, it's going to increase gas formation. Now so for people who have this, what I suggest first up is we do kind of back off on the fiber intake temporarily. Yeah. And especially foods that most people are fully aware cause increased bloating with them. So temporarily we do back off on the cabbage and the cauliflower and the broccoli and the lentils and so forth. Now what I do is I get them to use a prebiotic fiber. Okay, so prebiotic food for good gut bugs, and there are some that specifically raise butyrate production. One of them, the main one, is partially hydrolyzed guar gum. So it's a powder.
GUAR, guar gum.
Guar, yes, yeah. So it's not the guar gum that you just buy in the shops that you might use in cooking. It has to be altered for this purpose.
So partially hydrolyzed guar gum.
Partially hydrolyzed. Okay. Yeah. And so I get them to just start with very small amounts of that and then gradually increase it. There are some probiotic strains, so specific types of bacteria that do decrease visceral hypersensitivity as well. And what I get them to do is to start off with a diet that is relatively low in these types of carbohydrates. Yeah. So it's going to be based on starchy vegetables, potatoes, pumpkin, sweet potato.
Which you can digest, you get the goodness, but it doesn't make that reaction come up.
And they can have, I was going to say zucchini, courgette for your audience.
So what kind of probiotics strains would be good for them?
Yeah, so one of them is called Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG. This is a very well-tested strain. Not any random Lactobacillus rhamnosus. It's got to be the GG strain. And there's another one called GG. GG. So capital G, that's a strain designation. Got like it. GG riding the horses. There's another one called Lactobacillus plantarum 299V. So both of those have some pretty good evidence around visceral hypersensitivity. There are also some new kids on the block among probiotics, spore-forming bacteria that dramatically increase butyrate production. Quite keen on them, actually. I've seen really good results with those. And so,
what are they called?
Yeah, so there's the main one that I'm using now is called Megaspore Biotic. That's the product name, and it's got a number of different spore-forming bacteria. So bacteria from the soil. Humans in our evolutionary history ate a lot of dirt. Therefore,
yes, we didn't clean things as much.
Our gut is so used to, soil bacteria that it actually recognizes many of these spore-forming bacteria from soil as being good guys, welcome to our gut, go and do your thing. And so these bacteria have really interesting interactions with the immune function. So that's what we do. We start with this kind of like a low reactive plant-based diet of starch vegetables and easily digested non-starch vegetables. We do the prebiotic fiber, the partially hydrolyzed guar gum. We do the probiotics that decrease visceral hypersensitivity. There is a form of hypnotherapy called gut-directed hypnotherapy, very highly specific for these issues.
I love that. Do you do that?
I know. A British gastroenterologist by the name of Peter Warwell developed this, and this is done WHORWELL, Peter Warwell. And most of the people who do this are registered psychologists. It's very specific training.
Love it.
It's just random hypnotherapy. It's gut-directed hypnotherapy. So those usually get the person to a place where their gut is pretty happy, and then we gradually increase the complexity and the diversity of their diet. So we add back in those foods step by step. And I do use a stepwise protocol in terms of adding foods back into the diet in a very particular order, so that we don't kind of rush the person's gut in a sense. But we want diversity of plant foods. I see people who are down to 3 or 4 foods because they seem to be reacting to everything. This is a terrible situation. It's just a disaster.
It is, because I feel like emotionally then what happens is that particularly your nervous system starts to perceive food as the enemy. And I think that is so bad for you. And I do see it, and I see it a lot amongst teenage girls, actually.
Oh, yes. And you're also quite literally starving your gut microbiota. So the human gut microbiome thrives on dietary diversity. Our ancestors had a very diverse diet. Most people in Western societies have a very narrow diet.
Very narrow diet. That's why we have shopping lists that say shop your favorites, because you buy the same stuff again and again and again. You eat the same colors again and again and again.
Absolutely. Yes. Very few people.
My God, Robyn, that was amazing. That felt like a little potted history through the biological moors of the female tummy. I don't really even know what to do with myself. I've written like partially hydrolyzed guar gum, Peter Oral, gut hypnotherapy, Megaspore, butyrate, I'm like, okay, I was taking notes there. So
so many things to follow up on.
I think that's amazing. That was the most fascinating conversation. I work in the health and wellness business. I have done for 12 years. And I'm always looking at ways to help my clients get healthier and stronger. And I have never met anyone who said what you've just said, that when you've had no one has said to me that when you have babies, it changes your colon, it changes the tone of not one person. And I speak to hundreds of people, if not thousands in a month.
Bearing a mission. It's something
you need a woman to tell you about women.
Not to put us off having babies. That's not my intention, right?
No, but you need to understand that when you've had a baby, your gut needs to recover, because it's not so much just doing the muscular recovery of the core and diastasis recti. It's also about doing the internal recovery that we need to be aware of. And in menopause, I don't believe that when you get older, you have to have a gut. I just think that's wrong. So in fact, what you're saying is that you just have to approach your gut physicality in a different way to make it stronger.
Yes,
I love that. Tell me how people can find you, please. If they're looking for you, how can they find you?
Okay, best bet is to hop on my website. It's empowertotalhealth.com.au. Don't forget the AU. I am in Australia. There is an enormous amount of free content on that. I write a new article every week. I've been doing this for well over 10 years. So there's literally hundreds of articles on
I
my
know,
website.
I do that, right? You're just like, I have so much content.
There's videos, there's recipes, there's a number of courses and programs that I run. I have a membership program in which people can participate in live webinars, so Q&A sessions and what I call deep dives. So really, literally deep dives into interesting topics, mostly ones that members propose. So that's what I'm up to. People can work with me in person or online. I do have clients all over the world. I am on Facebook. Again, just go to Empower Total Health. I do have a Twitter account, but I don't tweet all that often.
Yeah, I was going to go, I just don't use it.
My Instagram account is full of pictures of my dog and trees that I see while walking my dog. So it's probably
totally
not the best place to follow me. Go to my website.
Thank you so much, Robyn, for joining me. That was fascinating. I loved it. I really, really enjoyed our conversation.